Advocates say the current law fails teen survivors. And the National Urban League is bringing its 2025 conference to Cleveland, Ohio this July. The event will feature top speakers, job fairs, and sessions on civil rights, economic empowerment, and health equity. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Is this the Tiger?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A tough night for both of LA's baseball teams. The Dodgers lost at home to the New York Mets 6-1. If you want to skip work today, the Dodgers wrap up their 7-game homestand with a day game. They play the Mets again, first pitch at 1:10. The Angels lost at Boston 11-9. The Angels are back on Friday night against Seattle to start a 6-game homestand. The NBA Finals jump off tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder are heavy favorites to beat the Indiana Pacers in the best-of-7 finals. OKC is a 9.5-point favorite to win Game 1. It's tough not to look at OKC as the more dominant team. They won 68 games in the regular season and are 12-4 in the playoffs. A word of caution, do not sleep on the Pacers. Early in the season, the Pacers were 10-15 and did not look like a playoff contender. Look where they are today. Tip-off time tonight is 5:30 on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God!
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There'll be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Love you. Love you.
Try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth. Oh, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seeming like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you. Talk to me back in style again.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program but want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com or wherever you get your podcast and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, a conversation with Clarence Thomas. No, not that Clarence Thomas. But wouldn't that be something? This Clarence Thomas is the famed labor union leader, uncle of the filmmaker Ryan Coogler, and author of the book Mobilizing in Our Own Name, Million Worker March. He's an amazing guy, this Clarence Thomas is, and you don't want to miss the second hour. Uncle Bud is what Ryan Coogler calls him. He's on today in hour 2, live in studio for that matter. In our third hour, a career conversation with Oscar-winning screenwriter and co-host of the Doc Talk podcast, John Ridley. Look forward to that dialogue in hour 3. But in this first hour today, let's talk politics with CNN contributor and co-owner of the streaming network We the Free, Shermichael Singleton. Shermichael, how are you?
Hey, Tavis, I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me back on the show.
It's good to have you on. How's that precious new baby of yours?
You know, I was telling Faraj, your producer,
Yeah.
she was screaming and hollering because I think my wife was trying to feed her, and whatever she was feeding her, she didn't want. So she's 5 months now, so now we can give her parade.
Yeah.
And I don't know what my wife whipped up downstairs with Tavis. She was not liking it.
Yeah, I had that feeling a couple nights ago, but nobody was force feeding. Nobody was force feeding me. Thank God for Jesus. But I had something that I didn't like, so I can empathize with her in that regard. But I'm glad she's doing well, man. Glad she's doing well. There is so much to talk about. My pleasure. So much to talk about in this hour. Let me start with this because when this came through, when this pinged on my phone yesterday, it pinged first from the media source, and then within a matter of seconds, I must have 25, 30 emails or text messages came in right fast. And you probably saw this on your phone yesterday as well. Corinne Jean-Pierre. I consider her a friend. She's been a guest on this program. Of course, former Biden press secretary announced yesterday that she will detail in her forthcoming book that she has left the Democratic Party. She's becoming an independent. And so we're all waiting to read more detail about how she came to this decision, but I've never seen anything like this in my career. You were the president's press secretary. She made history in a couple different ways as a black woman. She's out about her sexuality, so she made history in a variety of ways as the president's spokesperson. And I think did a decent job, an adequate job of representing Joe Biden. And now, a few months after leaving the White House, she says, "I am no longer down with the Democratic Party. I am becoming an independent." What say you, Shermichael Singleton, about this news that came out last night?
Yeah, Tavis, I just spoke about this yesterday on CNN, and I'll say what I said at the onset of my remarks. I've known Corinne Jean-Pierre for a long, long time because of TV. Her and I have had a lot of debates on television, and we've been on panels together discussing politics and culture. And personally, I like her. I personally really, really like her, and we don't agree a lot on many issues, but I would say it's probably fair to say we have mutual respect for each other. That said, this is tough, man. This I think is a ding at her credibility. I would argue. I would say that the Jake Tapper, Alex Thompson book, both colleagues of mine at CNN, I think was incredibly damaging about what people actually knew and what they were saying and background about the president, a former president rather, and his condition. And look, God bless Joe Biden. He's dealing with cancer right now. I want to be mindful and respectful of that, and I hope he recovers and can battle this deadly disease. But that aside, a lot of people are now going to look at Corinne Jean-Pierre and beg the question, did she knowingly mislead the American people? Anytime she was asked this question about the president's health or mental acuity, and she said he was perfectly fine. And so I think, just being a strategist, having worked in media and PR, I think this is an attempt to perhaps disassociate herself from these revelations that have come out. I think it's an attempt, and I don't know what's in the book, but maybe she'll say, I wasn't a part of the immediate circle. I only saw the president during certain times where he did indeed appear fine. His close advisors who did sort of inoculate him in this cocoon of protection, they were constantly saying he was just working hard, which is why we didn't see him often. And so I believe that. I think, again, not having read the book, but as a PR person, done a lot of crisis management stuff, I think someone probably advised her, like, hey, for your reputation, you need to disassociate yourself from this by any means necessary. And I think a part of that was writing a book. Maybe it's a tell-all, leaving the Democratic Party, becoming an independent. I'm sure she'll give her reasons for that.
Yeah.
That's what I think this ultimately is about, or will be about.
So all the talk of late has been about the book, as you might have referenced a moment ago, Original Sin by Jake Tapper. But what she does argue in this book, we are told, Shermichael says, I don't know what's in the book, and I don't either. I know Corinne will come on this program. I'm sure she will, when the book drops later this year. But she writes in the book about what she terms the betrayal by the Democratic Party that led to Biden's decision to abandon his reelection bid. That's what she refers to it as, the betrayal by the Democratic Party. Isn't that interesting? I want to jump into that straight away. That's one of the reasons we are told in advance for why Corinne Jean-Pierre, the history-making press secretary for Joe Biden, has announced that she has left the Democratic Party. A bit more on that before we move to other issues. Delighted to have Shermichael Singleton for the hour on Tavis Smiley. Today is Curtis Mayfield. I should mention that right quick. I'm going to say it 25 times for the day is over with. But all 3 hours of our show today, you know how we do it. June, Black Music Month, a different artist in residence every day. And today, all 3 hours of our program, it's the best of Chicago's own Curtis Mayfield.
To the Carolinas. Everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
LA's newest soul food restaurant is getting spectacular reviews.
Great place with amazing food. The Sunday champagne brunch is fabulous. I saw the place on IG. We tried it for lunch. We were blown away by the food and the service. The restaurant has an inviting atmosphere and a dynamic vibe.
Over the years, Lionel has catered most major Black events in Los Angeles, including all of our KBLA Talk 1580 gatherings. But now he has his own spot, Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine, and you need to check it out at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles. Oxtails, baked or fried chicken, meatloaf, turkey chops, pork chops, catfish, short ribs, and all the fixins. Collard greens, mac and cheese, yams, red beans, black-eyed peas, and more. And of course, hot water cornbread, satisfying drinks, and delicious desserts. Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you, because we've got your black. So, head on over to Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles and tell Lionel you heard about it on KBLA Talk 1580.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
So on my list of my top 10, my top 5 of underrated, underappreciated artists of all time, Curtis Mayfield's on the list. He is so undervalued, so underappreciated, even all these years later. Curtis Mayfield is. And so today, we're going to give him his love and his respect as we celebrate June, Black Music Month, all month long, every day on my program. All 3 hours, we have a different artist who we feature the best of their contributions to black music. And so today we are celebrating the iconic library of one Curtis Mayfield. Our guest in his first hour is Shermichael Singleton of CNN. You see him there all the time. He's also the co-owner of a couple different companies. We may get to that a little bit later in this program. One called We the Free Streaming Network. We'll let him unpack what that's all about. But again, always honored to have him on this program. So we started with this news of last night, and I got a few other things I want to cover in this hour. But I want to stay on this just for a second here. So Karine Jean-Pierre, who I know, former Biden press secretary, announced yesterday in a video that she has left or is leaving the Democratic Party. She writes about her decision to do so in her new book that's coming soon called Independent, A Look Inside a Broken White House Outside the Party Lines. That's the name of the book, Independent, A Look Inside a Broken White House Outside the Party Lines. My producers just handed me a note and told me that she's already confirmed on this program, so I'm glad to hear that. I figured she'd be here, but she's already on our schedule in a number of weeks when the book actually drops. So look forward to Karine coming in person to talk about this book. But she announced last night she's leaving the Democratic Party, and all hell sort of broke loose when she said that. She defines this in part, her decision that is, to leave the party born of a betrayal. Those are her words, a betrayal by the Democratic Party. It didn't take long, Shermichael, as you know, for people to start opining on this pretty quickly. And Democrats, interestingly, went in on her pretty hard. Let me just offer a few comments of what people had to say. One Democrat said that it was more productive to focus on former Vice President Kamala Harris's saving Democrats from losing 400 electoral votes, that is, and thank Biden for doing the responsible thing by stepping aside. More productive to do that than it is to pretend that this was an unwarranted act of betrayal. Somebody else said that they're sick and tired of Democrats not being proud to be Democrats and fighting for what we believe in. If you lost the will to fight, then get out of the party. Karine, for her part, argued in this video yesterday that it can be worthwhile to carve a political space more loyal to personal beliefs than party affiliation. Put a pin in that. I want to ask Shermichael specifically about that. She goes on to say, I think we need to stop thinking in boxes. We got to stop thinking in boxes and think outside of our boxes and not be so partisan. That's interesting coming from Karine right about now. But this notion that it can be more worthwhile to carve a political space more loyal to personal beliefs than party affiliation, I find rather interesting. What say you, Shermichael?
Yeah, I find it interesting too. Well, first of all, I want to say I reject some of the comments of people who have maybe attempted to downplay this change in party affiliation from Corinne. I mean, this is important. She was the chief spokesperson for the president. I mean, she spoke more to the press than the president did, as is the case with all press secretaries, to be quite frank. So I don't know how anyone could downplay just how pivotal and consequential this is. The little tease that you read about the book and her critique of her party is certainly something that I'm interested in as a practitioner of electoral politics and a student of history. And I think it may be something if Democrats are wise, they would probably want to listen to what she has to say. And maybe she may offer some nuggets to where she believes, as someone who is on the inside looking out, where the Democrat Party has gone wrong and perhaps continues to go wrong. And so I'm not going to reject the premise of her critique in that regard. Again, as I stated, I do think that someone, or maybe even Corinne herself, realizes that she may need to try to protect her own standing and her own credibility and her own legitimacy in this space. And I got to be frank, I would probably do the same thing, all things considered. I mean, we've seen, and look, I'm not a big Biden guy here,
Yeah,
but I have
we know.
certainly seen how the Democrat Party literally flipped things upside down, threw the guy out to the wolves, and said, "Goodbye, Joe Biden. We're moving on. We're going to try to choose somebody else." And so if a party isn't going to be loyal to what we have traditionally, or at least in the modern sense, referred to as the quote unquote leader of the party, effectively speaking, that is, then you certainly know they could care less about Corinne Jean Pierre. Not only because she's merely a press secretary, but she's a black woman, and she's a black woman who, as you stated, Travis, has been open about her sexual orientation. So she has negative after negative, a double negative.
Yeah.
And so I think she's attempting to say, wait a minute here, I want to speak for myself before I allow anybody else to create a character of me that just quite frankly didn't exist. And so, in that regard, as a friend, and I do consider Corinne Jean Pierre a friend, I'm going to
Sure.
speak up and defend her in that route. Right. But I saw all of that to say, I think Democrats must become introspective here. I really do. And I think the party, at least philosophically speaking, has become way more subjectivist in its outlook and how it solves issues. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for subjectivism, although I, as a conservative, for the most part, would reject a lot of those claims, and less about objective outlooks on policy and culture and customs of behavior and norms. And so, again, at a minimum, I would say give her an opportunity to, let's see what's in the book. And I'm sure there'll be things to be critical of. I'm sure there'll be a lot of things that I want to be critical of. But I'm going to give my friend an opportunity to tell things from her perspective. I think that's only fair because, Tavis, there have been a lot of people who look a little different, who have attempted to reclaim their integrity with all this Biden stuff. They have spoken in a lot of places. They've been invited on every single airwaves you can think of. And I would presume at some point they too will write books, probably to great fanfare.
Yeah.
And so I just think it would be a bit incredulous to not give Corinne Jean Pierre the same opportunity as others. And I think you know what I mean when I say others
I got
will
you.
absolutely be given.
Yeah.
And again, her and I are not ideologically on the same page, but she's a friend, and I'm going to stand up for my friend and give her the same space that we would give anybody else.
No, I'm going to give her. I'm going to give her a whole hour on this program when the book drops to explain herself and to share with this audience why she's made this decision. But there are two other questions.
This is why black media is important, by the way. I just got to say that.
No, I appreciate that. Two other things I want to cover on this before I move forward, though. First, you can't drop a word like subjectivism in a conversation with me as it relates to Democrats and not unpack what you mean by that. I'm not naive. I think I know what you mean by it. But put me in the proper frame of what you mean by that, in your use, at least, your invocation of that word.
Yeah, no, of course, Tavis. I just think there are certain, and I always want to be careful because I think sometimes people use words in a reckless kind of way that can be damaging to people. And I certainly don't want to take away any person's humanity or even their autonomy to be or live a life the way they desire. I think that's important. But I think that there are certain truths that no matter what a person's life experience may be, cannot be altered, cannot be changed. And I would argue a part of the conundrum for Democrats, when I use the term subjectivism, I'm meaning particularly culturally speaking. That's what I was really referencing.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Cultural changes.
Yep.
And I think that, and I don't think all Democrats believe this, but I think that the party itself has allowed some very loud voices in some ways to sort of take over, hijack what I think most Democrats actually value and believe. And I think it's turned off a lot of Americans. I think it's turned off a lot of men in particular. I think it's why you saw 44% of Latinos, men and women, voting for Trump. Now, that doesn't mean that they're cemented. I think it's why in places like North Carolina and Texas and Pennsylvania, you saw Trump, who only received around 8-9% of black men in each of those states respectively, increase his numbers ranging from 18% to, I believe, 24% of black men in Texas. I mean, those numbers can't be overlooked. Now, again, it's an important distinction to say that that doesn't mean that they're cemented. It doesn't mean that they're not having buyer's remorse. It doesn't mean any of those things. But the fact that it even occurred should be a principal point of discussion for Democrats to reflect on. Well, what is it about some of our positions, not just economics? I think that's too easy to just say, oh, it's because of economics. I think there are some legitimate cultural tendencies that modern day Democrats have adopted that just frankly turns off a lot of people. And I think it has to be addressed.
Yeah. I'm going to, speaking of black men, I'm going to pivot from this black woman to black men when we come forward here. A number of black men sat down with NBC News recently to talk about their vote for Donald Trump and whether or not they do, in fact, have buyer's remorse. I'm going to play just a minute or two clip for you from a number of male voices in that conversation with NBC News when we come forward here. But one other question on this Karine Jean-Pierre news. Again, in case you've just tuned in and didn't hear yesterday, the president's press secretary, Joe Biden's press secretary, the history-making black one, Karine Jean-Pierre, announced yesterday in a forthcoming book that she's going to detail why she is leaving the Democratic Party and becoming an independent. As I said earlier, it didn't take long for a lot of Democrats to go in on her. And I read a number of comments as you heard, Shermichael, and all those comments taken together really reflect one thing, that Democrats, a lot of Democrats are just kind of sick and tired, kind of like Fannie Lou Hamer, sick and tired of being sick and tired of watching Democrats, how might I put this, politically engage in an act of self-immolation. They sort of set themselves on fire. These wounds are self-inflicted, and so many people are already pointing to this as another example of that Democrats just can't get out of their own way, and even at the highest levels, at the level of press secretary to the president of the United States, you got a Democrat, a black Democrat, saying, "I'm no longer going to be a member of the Democratic Party." How do you read that in terms of political self-immolation on the part of Democrats?
I think this is actually healthy. I see this a different way.
Okay.
Tavis, you've covered this a lot. If you recall, at the height of the Tea Party movement, we were having very similar conversations about the Republicans.
That's right.
With the rise of Trump, you had a lot of Republicans, Tavis, many of you know, who left the Republican Party. Many I know who left, and actually some have even become Democrats.
That's right.
And so I think, again, to come and to stand up for Corinne, I think this is healthy to have these internal conversations, but to also have them outwardly in front of the public, to allow the public to be active participants in this conversation of what should the Democratic Party look like as we move forward? What should be our ideals and values, and what should be our priorities as a party? I think that's a healthy part of the evolution of political parties in our country. And I think parties have the opportunity to become stronger by having these public, I wouldn't say digressions, but I guess having these public disagreements about what the future of said party could look like. And allowing the public to be a part of that is just something that doesn't typically happen, because a lot of times in the past, these conversations happened in, smoke-filled rooms with the wealthy and most powerful leaders of the parties. Well, now those dynamics are changing. People get to be a part of it. They get to be involved. They get to talk about it. People get to create videos and put on social media to discuss it. And you look at the comments, and random folks from all over the place get to sort of chime in and voice their opinions on what they think. I think that's a good thing. And I think Karine Jean-Pierre may be doing something that, while Democrats may be critical of her today, I would argue maybe by 2028, they may say, this was a good thing. Like we needed to air this out to finally move in a direction that makes the party more competitive. And so if I were Democrats, my advice as a conservative, as a Republican, would say, hey, we've gone through this. It does not mean the world is going to end. Allow the process to work. Be involved, be engaged. And the most important thing you can do, and I used to try to tell a lot of the establishment Republicans this at the time, listen to what your voters are telling you.
Yeah. Nope, I hear you loud and clear. We will wait until the book drops and get a chance to read it. That's always important. Reading is fundamental, somebody once said. So I'll read the book, and when Karine comes on the program, I'll be prepared for a conversation with her. But again, she's already booked on our schedule, so I'm glad to know that, as I'm sure you are. The book, once again, is called Independent, A Look Inside a Broken White House Outside the Party Lines. We will welcome Karine Jean-Pierre on this program when that text drops. For now, though, we'll continue with our guest in this hour, Shermichael Singleton, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Tensions flared in Chicago as protesters clashed with ICE agents outside a South Loop immigration office. Alderperson Jesse Fuentes says at least 10 people were detained, including a member of an immigrant rights group.
They robbed families of their mothers. They robbed families of their siblings. They robbed families of their fathers.
Advocates say some were separated from their lawyers during routine check-ins. As part of World Pride 2025, the Center for Black Equity is hosting a free community conversation summit at Howard University, June 4th through the 6th. The event features workshops and panels focused on health equity, civil rights, and advocacy. And Milo, Maine is gearing up for its annual Black Fly Festival this Saturday. Hosted by the Milo Events and Bicentennial Committees, the day features live entertainment, food vendors, and family fun, all celebrating local culture and community spirit. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A tough night for both of LA's baseball teams. The Dodgers lost at home to the New York Mets 6-1. If you want to skip work today, the Dodgers wrap up their 7-game homestand with a day game. They play the Mets again, first pitch at 1:10. The Angels lost at Boston 11-9. The Angels are back on Friday night against Seattle to start a 6-game homestand. The NBA Finals jump off tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder are heavy favorites to beat the Indiana Pacers in the best-of-7 finals. OKC is a 9.5-point favorite to win Game 1. It's tough not to look at OKC as the more dominant team. They won 68 games in the regular season and are 12-4 in the playoffs. A word of caution, do not sleep on the Pacers. Early in the season, the Pacers were 10-15 and did not look like a playoff contender. Look where they are today. Tip-off time tonight is 5:30 on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again. Holla.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on! On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are two big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Add a little sugar, honeysuckle, and a great big expression of happiness. Boy, you couldn't miss with a dozen roses. Such would astound you, the joy of children laughing around you.
It's Curtis Mayfield all day today on Tavis Smiley as we continue to celebrate June as Black Music Month. A different artist every day. And so June is one of our favorite months around here because we get a chance to play some pretty great music. Some amazing tracks. All 3 hours of our program every single day. Yesterday we did, who was yesterday, Miles? Huh? That's right. See how fast I forget? El DeBarge yesterday. Yesterday was L's 64th birthday. And so today we celebrate Curtis Mayfield. And we're going to go through all the genres, gospel and hip-hop and R&B and jazz and folk and everything that black folk have put their chops on. We're going to celebrate as we move throughout this month. But we're delighted to be celebrating in this program today Curtis Mayfield. Also delighted to have Shermichael Singleton, conservative CNN contributor, co-founder and co-owner of We the Free Streaming Network, and father to a precious 5-month-old. And so he didn't sleep last night, but he's up today to join us on this program anyway. So we were talking earlier, in case you've just tuned in, about the news that broke last night that Karine Jean-Pierre, President Biden's history-making press secretary, announced that she has left or is leaving the Democratic Party. She's going to detail that in her forthcoming book. She'll be a guest on this program when that book drops. But I want to pivot now from one particular black woman to a group of black men. Interestingly, you heard Shermichael. I didn't even tee him up for this. You heard him offer some stats earlier in this conversation about the number of black men who voted for Donald Trump last time around. Of course, we all know that number went up significantly for Donald Trump in this most recent election. But here are the voices of some black men in conversation with NBC News about their vote for Donald Trump then and what they make of that vote now.
I'd like to know whether, on balance, you approve or disapprove of what the new administration has done since it took over.
I approve because he's weeding out a lot of things that Biden and Kamala Harris disrupted in this United States.
I believe that he's getting rid of the clutter and things that have been there for a long period of time. I don't 100% agree totally how he's cleaning house, but there are some areas that need to be improved within the government.
I disapprove of the way he's handled the firings of government employees. Firing public sector versus the private sector are two different animals. In my opinion, he should have gone in with a scalpel instead of a blowtorch.
What are the key characteristics or traits that best describe today's Democratic Party?
Liars, a lot of people doing insider trading, a lot of people are working for lobbyists and not for the people.
I would say manipulation. To me, it feels like they more want to scare you into following them than to go on with what your, heart really thinks should be done.
Just like Kamala, she came down here and tried to steer the black man's vote by bringing Cardi B and all them shaking their booty on stage like that was going to get us to go vote for her. And that was so disrespectful to me as a fan.
Who's heard about the Doge team?
They saved us so much money, but I don't see how this is really going to benefit us on like a personal basis. Like, how are you saving me money?
I believe that he's been given too much power. I know they partners in crime, but he's been given too much power to do the things that he's been doing and getting access to things that he should not have access to.
If you could ask President Trump any question, what would you ask him?
When the gas prices will go down, when the stuff will start going down, when we're going to see the effects of this economy changing.
He said he was sending every American $5,000. How soon are we getting that $5,000?
That last piece. You gotta love black people. You gotta love black men. When we get my money? When you gonna run me my coins? That's what he wanted to know. I digress. So there are two ways I want to. There are two levels on which I want to give you a chance to offer critique or assessment. The second level, which I'll get to in a moment, is black conservatives, and I've been saying this to all of my conservative friends who come on this program. Why y'all Negroes so silent, Shermichael? I'm going to run the list again of all the things that Donald Trump has done and said that ought to have y'all's ire. And black conservatives have not been as loud as you need to be critiquing and criticizing this president, from turning a blind eye to police accountability in the Department of Justice to going after the Blacksonian Museum and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'll get to that a little bit later and give you a chance, as I've done others, to defend or explain why y'all being so quiet in a moment like this. My friend and my brother, Shermichael Singleton. We'll do that in a minute here, but I want to start with what you just heard from these black men broadly about how they view Donald Trump. There are disparate voices in there, but on balance, I'm not hearing a whole lot of buyer's remorse from these black men that you referenced earlier, Shermichael.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not either. I just wonder, Tavis. I think about a German philosopher Hegel, and in one of his treatises, and then Jean-Paul Sartre sort of expounded upon this years later, and Hegel goes through this sort of interesting dialectic about all human beings yearning for recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And not to get esoteric in my analysis here, but the reason that I'm bringing that up is because you heard a consistent theme of each of those men, and they all sort of pointed on or touched on different things, but it was all about economics. And I think at the core, it's about economic sustenance and viability. I think for every man, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Latino, Asian, black, white, hell, even maybe straight or gay, I think an innate part of masculinity is about being able to provide and care for oneself. Like, I think every man wants to be able to know, when I enter the workforce, I can work a good job, I can work hard, and I can make good money. And I think what you sort of heard with those guys is like, hey, we're supporting him. We're giving him an opportunity because we really believe he is probably going to be better at fostering an environment that will allow me to create the type of economic engine that I believe will propel me to where I ultimately want to go compared to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I think the minute, though, and I really believe this, I think the minute that we on the conservative right begin to deviate from that, then I do think you probably start to lose some of these men. As I stated earlier, I am happy to see that more men of color are moving towards the right, because I used to work a lot on trying to attract more men of color into the Republican Party. But I have reminded people in the party that these guys who are Republican adjacent or conservative, but ultimately decided, hey, I want to sort of try out this Republicanism, they don't have a history of being consistent, reliable Republican voters. And in order to make them consistently reliable, you have to give them something. Like when people vote for you, it is like a contract. It's an agreement. I am buying into this with the expectation that you're going to deliver on something. And we do indeed have, it's not enough to give lip service. We have to deliver economically, as all the guys said, hey, where's my money? I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for this economic thing. And so I think if we can deliver on those things, then you sort of cement a sector of black men. And then I think you increase the possibility of more black men being curious about republicanism, as we're also seeing among Latino men and even Asian men. And so that's sort of the way I see this. I think they're yearning for recognition economically. They're giving the Republican Party an opportunity to address and put a spotlight on that recognition. And if we do it, then you cement them. If we don't, then we lose them.
All right, that's the black men answer. When we come forward, the black conservative response and why so many of them don't seem to have buyer's remorse. Never mind the long laundry list that I could run. I'll give you a few of them when we come forward that just boggles my mind as to why we've not heard more critique from these black conservatives. We'll do that when we come forward. Shermichael Singleton on Tavis, Smiley.
Generous listening.
Charitable listening.
It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has worksource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-857-8866. 800-857-8866. 800-857-8866.
Less monologue,
more dialogue.
Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed with Shermichael Singleton. I could run a long list of all the issues on which I think black conservatives ought to be a lot more vocal. They range, as I suggested earlier, from the Department of Justice under Trump turning a blind eye to police accountability in cities where black people have been killed in Minneapolis, where they killed George Floyd, in Louisville, where they killed Breonna Taylor, in Memphis, where they killed Tyree Nichols. The list goes on and on and on. I can do that all the way over to Donald Trump trying to do in the Blacksonian, the Black Museum. There's a whole lot in the middle. We all know the attacks on DE&I. I can do this all day long, but Shermichael is so smart. He covers these issues every day in a variety of spaces, including CNN. He don't need me to run the list. He knows exactly what's on my mind and in my heart. My question is, why have you black conservatives, Shermichael, been so quiet? Has Donald Trump done nothing to get your ire as a black man or as a black conservative?
Tavis, that's a good question. I think it depends on the individual. I'll give you an example. Tuesday night, I was on Abby's show. Actually, Dr. West was on.
I saw that show, and it was fire.
Great to be with
I
Dr.
saw that.
West.
Yeah, it was a great show. Yeah.
And Abby brought up the initial conversation was about changing the name of Harvey Milk. I kind of glossed over that. I'm going to be honest. I don't have any particular feelings about Mr. Milk. Like, I just don't. I'm just being honest.
Right.
But she then mentioned other names, Medgar Evers, Harriet Tubman. And that's when I said, this I don't agree with. And I knew that some people close to the secretary were watching, Secretary Hegseth, that is, were watching that segment because I had text with him about it.
Right.
And his ethos is, well, we need a military that maintains a warrior ethos. And I said at the time, because presuming some people don't know Harriet Tubman's history, she was a Republican, at least what a Republican meant that in those days. She was incredibly religiously conservative, and she believed in carrying a darn gun. And she oftentimes faced enemies and hurdles that really required a level of magnanimity that you don't often see in general, but particularly among women. And this woman was a real fighter. So I ultimately said in my assessment, I said, if your idea of like, hey, I want my warriors to follow a quote unquote warrior ethos, I said, there is no greater example of a warrior than someone like Harriet Tubman. I fundamentally believe that.
Yeah.
And so I disagreed with that. And said so on air two nights ago. And so when these issues come up, I sort of make it very clear where my standing is when I'm bothered by some of this stuff. So some people don't, and they have their reasons for it. I respect that. It may not be my way. Even the Kamala Harris thing, when President Trump, sort of questioned her blackness last year, and I was on CNN discussing it. And I said that this was just appalling.
Yeah.
I said, look, the president has an opportunity here to reach out to black men. I don't think this was necessary. I think he could have went about this completely different. Now, look, the president's going to do what the president wants to do. And so I say all of that to say, Tavis, I think you can be a supporter of the president and generally speaking of his policies. And still, when there are moments that, look, I don't agree with this, be vocal about the disagreement and use the opportunity as a moment to educate.
Yep.
And that's what I typically try to do when those moments arise.
No, and I, to your credit, I have seen you do that. But I think writ large, these black conservatives have been eerily silent. And that silence speaks volumes to me in a variety of ways about the way that they too are bending the knee in the era of Donald Trump 2.0. I digress on that for now. Two other things to cover before I lose Shermichael at the top of the hour. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom? She started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Shermichael Singleton. Just enough time left to get into this. The U.S., as you probably heard, vetoed another UN resolution demanding an immediate Gaza ceasefire. We did this during the Biden administration. We're doing it again in the Trump administration. Here's our interim U.S. representative to the UN trying to explain this vote.
U.S. opposition to this resolution should come as no surprise. It is unacceptable for what it does say. It is unacceptable for what it does not say. And it is unacceptable for the manner in which it has been advanced. The United States has been clear. We would not support any measure that fails to condemn Hamas and does not call for Hamas to disarm and leave Gaza. It is unconscionable that the UN still has not labeled and sanctioned Hamas as a terrorist organization. The United States has taken the very clear position since this conflict began that Israel has a right to defend itself, which includes defeating Hamas and ensuring they are never again in a position to threaten Israel. In this regard, any product that undermines our close ally Israel's security is a non-starter. This resolution would undermine diplomatic efforts to reach a ceasefire that reflects the realities on the ground and emboldens Hamas.
You can spin it any way you want to spin it, but we were the only member to vote against the measure. And again, I don't care how you frame it, you voted against a ceasefire. How can you be against a ceasefire, Shermichael?
I'm just going to put it this way. Israel, and I'm a big supporter of Israel in this conflict. I mean, look, I don't want innocent children to die either, but I do think that Israel has a right to defend itself. But that aside, I think the United States, and I'm just going to be honest about it, I don't mean this as a slight against any of my Jewish friends, Tavis, but I really do believe the United States and our military-industrial complex views Israel as pretty much an important military base for the United States. I got to be honest, to have its pulse in real time on the surrounding countries in the Middle East. I really fundamentally believe that. I think if Israel was anywhere else in the world, I don't think, in terms of its geographic location, I do not believe it would be as important as it has been to the United States' interest in that region.
Yeah.
So I think it's less about perhaps a religious affinities or affiliations, and more about how do we maintain a strategic advantage if we ever need to be in that part of the world quickly, and we need land and access to airstrips, and we need to put military capabilities to be able to invade a place or defend something.
Yeah.
Israel will be the place we would utilize.
As you all know, I am no fan of Donald Trump, and as you also know, Shermichael Singleton is no fan of Joe Biden, and yet on this issue, one cannot argue that they are no different on these votes in the UN. They were wrong. These votes were wrong, to my mind, in the Biden era, and this vote is wrong in the Trump era. We need to be doing everything we can to encourage a ceasefire, and the U.S. Stood alone yesterday opposing this resolution, and I am it's shameful and disgraceful, disappointed in our country once again for how we're showing up or not showing up, as it were, on this particular issue. I've got a tight 60 seconds here, very tight. Tell me about We the Free streaming network, Shermichael.
Yeah, thanks, Tavis. So We the Free is a network that I started with one of my closest friends, John Keys, former Marine Corps veteran. Well, they say once a Marine, always a Marine.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a network that is for gun enthusiasts, people who are into action-oriented content. We have podcasts, political shows that obviously, lean to the right, center right. For right now, we're really focusing on men because a lot of guys are really into guns, but we just onboarded our first female gun creator because a lot of women are buying guns too. So we hope to bring on more women who are interested in guns and self-defense and action-oriented stuff, and who also may lean conservative on some cultural things.
Yep. I'm also always, rather, I'm trying to say always. I'm always shocked. I shouldn't be when I see this data that the fastest growing group of gun buyers in this country happen to be black people, and chief among them, black women, for all kinds of reasons, which I understand, to protect themselves. But it's fascinating that black people are buying guns faster than anybody else. I digress on that for now. Shermichael Singleton, good to have you on this program, my friend. All the best to you. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you, Tavis. Hope to see you soon, man.
I look forward to it. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Tensions flared in Chicago as protesters clashed with ICE agents outside a South Loop immigration office. Alderperson Jesse Fuentes says at least 10 people were detained, including a member of an immigrant rights group.
They robbed families of their mothers. They robbed families of their siblings. They robbed families of their fathers.
Advocates say some were separated from their lawyers during routine check-ins. As part of World Pride 2025, the Center for Black Equity is hosting a free community conversation summit at Howard University, June 4th through the 6th. The event features workshops and panels focused on health equity, civil rights, and advocacy. And Milo, Maine is gearing up for its annual Black Fly Festival this Saturday. Hosted by the Milo Events and Bicentennial Committees, the day features live entertainment, food vendors, and family fun, all celebrating local culture and community spirit. Give BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A tough night for both of LA's baseball teams. The Dodgers lost at home to the New York Mets 6-1. If you want to skip work today, the Dodgers wrap up their 7-game homestand with a day game. They play the Mets again, first pitch at 1:10. The Angels lost at Boston 11-9. The Angels are back on Friday night against Seattle to start a 6-game homestand. The NBA Finals jump off tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder are heavy favorites to beat the Indiana Pacers in the best-of-7 finals. OKC is a 9.5-point favorite to win Game 1. It's tough not to look at OKC as the more dominant team. They won 68 games in the regular season and are 12-4 in the playoffs. A word of caution, do not sleep on the Pacers. Early in the season, the Pacers were 10-15 and did not look like a playoff contender. Look where they are today. Tip-off time tonight is 5:30 on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA